everybody. How are you today? It's Linda with a special Valentine's special. It's a very special day today, and I'm delighted to see you all again, some new people and some people from yesterday. And so today, I'd like to welcome you back. We're going to talk about design today, the design of your book and your book cover and everything else that goes with design. So again, a very special day, and you're going to see some special treats as far as the visuals. You might have already seen them in the emails I sent you so far. So because it's Valentine's Day, love is in the air, and so everybody, I hope, is in a good mood, despite whatever weather you may be having anywhere in the world. A very snowy day where I am, but still a little sun. And so I also have a very special guest for you today. Somebody that's calling in all the way from Japan, where it's 5 o'clock in the morning. I can't believe he's still up. And so this is Dr. Michael Christensen. And you may recall that yesterday I mentioned his book and how he had a powerful why, a powerful story for the reason he wanted to write this book. His book came out recently, I think the end of December, and then he launched it on Amazon in January and is doing really well, and now he's building his business all around his book, and just having great fun with it, as well as feeling very proud of the transformation that he felt as an author and how he's helping other people to transform. So I'd like to welcome Dr. Michael Christensen and just ask him a quick question, which is, Michael, I call him Michael, how did you feel about working with me when you were in my course previously? What was where did you start because you were confused about how to write your book, and what was the transformation that you experienced in working with me?
Well, I was going through my emails a little earlier today, and I found out that our first conversation was in May of last year. And I just remember I had gone through a lot of research to find out some information about weight loss and all the lies and the misinformation about it. And when I got all the information together, I had beta groups going and worked a process out. And I just kind of came to a wall. I have this process, I have this idea, but I had no way to get it out. And with the chance discussion with my sister, who was working with Linda, she talked about a pilot group that Linda was starting, and I jumped at the chance to do it. Mostly because I needed an idea how to get going, and Linda seemed pretty knowledgeable. In fact, I was really looking into her for my sister to make sure that Linda wasn't, she was the real deal. And I really found out she was pretty fast. Excellent ideas on how to take your concepts and bring them into the into a page, and then even once you have the book design done and you've used your techniques to actually get your first manuscript, and then you start working from that and editing it. Linda was there all the way helping me out. And when sometimes you get bogged down in a book, and Linda was really there to help me keep going, because that's really the issue, is you got to keep going, because a lot of people, like a lot of things, they start things and never finish. And so I guess that was probably Linda's greatest help for me. Was helping me finish. And of course, once I finished the book, which I travel with it. Here's a picture of it. I've actually sold these in the last week while I've been traveling. I'm a pilot, so my co-pilot bought a print edition and an ebook edition, which is really nice. And he's actually going to be one of my betas when I'm testing an online system for doing the mentoring. So the whole point of this is, how do you get from an idea to writing a book to setting up online courses? And Linda was kind of there all along. I honestly wouldn't have known how to get from just the idea of how to get along to how to get to the point where I've got a website. I have unbelievable book design from contacts she has, a great printer. I was just on and on and on. It's really hard to say one thing, but if I had to say one thing, it was her constant encouragement that kept me going. That's what kept me going, Linda, is your constant encouragement, and the way whenever I'd get stuck, you would unstick me and move me forward. So I really appreciate it. Literally, and I'll say this honestly, I couldn't have done this without her. And one thing I haven't said to her before, if Linda mentioned anything about how I started on this, it was about when my mom got sick. And I guess the biggest regret I have is that I didn't meet her like 3 or 4 years ago, so I could have had the book written for my mom, because by the time I started writing my book, it was too late for my mom. But it's about wellness. It's about staying good. If I'd have known Linda 3 or 4 years before that, I would have had it to her, so she could have read it. So that's my biggest regret. But that's not with Linda. But that's just with not me. So I'm happy to ask any questions or talk to anything else about what everybody has. I'm just really thrilled to be here. That's why I'll be up all night to have a 10-minute talk with you.
I don't know if we can actually do a chat, but except people could type in questions if anybody has any. But I'm actually honored to work with Michael and wonderful help providers like yourself. It's my honor to work with you and help you usher your book into the world. But I'm especially honored that you stayed up all night just to be on this call. That's really wonderful. So maybe we can just conclude with, how do you feel as an author? A few months ago you weren't an author, now you are. And what was the transformation in your own feeling about yourself?
That's an excellent question, because for me it was really slow, it seemed slow at the time. So I write a book. I'm a little shy about the fact that I wrote it. I had some people say that I wasn't qualified to write the book. But I said, well, have you ever read it? And when they started reading it, then their opinions started changing when they read the book. So that really helped a lot. And even on this last trip where I was on, all the people I talked to, they have much more respect for my opinion because I've written this book. And they have a chance to look at it and they see how well written it is. Because a lot of books are out there, I found out, they're just not well written books. And so if you have somebody like Linda who can bring you through it, and Linda, you helped me with this, with the editing, and every phase of it. The book is so professional that people automatically have an increased respect for anything I say on that subject, which I really wouldn't have had any way of talking to people about it without it. So that's the biggest transformation. Once you've written a book on it, people read it and they start really following what you wrote. Become little groupies in your process that you came up with, just based on the strength of the writing that you did. It's pretty impressive. Pretty good way to and sometimes it's a great little icebreaker. Here's my book, read it if you have a question. So that was a transformation. I really do feel pretty good about myself being an internationally published author now.
Well, thank you so much, Michael. I really, really appreciate it, and we'll be in touch very soon. And I'll let you either watch the rest of this or go to sleep, whatever you feel is most beneficial to you right now. So thanks a lot. I'm now going to turn off the video for a minute, and so I can concentrate on delivering great content for you. So I'll see you all later, and just continue now. So yesterday we talked about a couple of things, and I had a lot of good questions afterwards. So we discussed who should write a wellness book, and I hope that you now know that it's you if you have something to say, and I know that you do, or you wouldn't be on this call. You wouldn't be a health provider with nothing to say. We talked about common myths about writing and publishing that you must know, and I just want to address that quickly because some of you asked me the question, am I in favor of self-publishing? And so possibly I wasn't clear enough about that. I am in favor of self-publishing for most people. And the thing that you should know is that sometimes when you self-publish successfully, a publisher finds you and offers you a publishing contract. And that's just an easy way to do it, because if you are already selling books and you have an audience and people buying it, you don't have to work to get the publisher. They come to you, and that's the beautiful thing. I've had both cases. I've had 3 publishers come to me, but at another time I went to look for a publisher, and that was not so easy. I had a book that almost got a contract, and then they thought, well, it wouldn't sell that well. It turned out it sold really well, but I didn't get a publisher for that, but it was actually one of my most successful books. And I made much more money self-publishing it, so that turned out to be good. So in general, I'm in favor of self-publishing for most of the people that are listening. But as I said, we'll have a conversation. Anybody who's interested in joining me, we'll have a conversation. We'll discuss what's best for you. And so that's why it's important to really discuss with each of you individually and not to make assumptions. We talked about why a wellness book is different from other books, and that's about the transformation that you offer your reader, your patient, or your client, taking them from a point of being unhappy, sick, miserable, suffering in some way, to a point of being better, improved, happier, healthier or whatever it is. And that's not necessarily the case for a how-to book, which might be just, how to build a bird cage or make a cake or whatever it is. It could be just pure information, but not necessarily a life transformation. But a wellness book can really be a life transformation. Imagine if you help somebody alleviate a chronic disease, or lose weight when they're obese, or get out of depression and solve some problem like that. That could be life-changing. And your book, as we said, could be the answer to someone's prison. Maybe they were imprisoned in some serious misery, physical or mental. So we also started to talk about how to focus your book so you write the right book to meet your goals. And we'll continue to talk about that. That's an exercise that you have to go through. If you don't feel ready to do it yet, not to worry, because you really only had 1 hour of help yesterday, and today's the second hour. So I don't expect that you'll know necessarily how to do that. Some people might, but not everyone will. But it's a process of discovery. So we also talked about the structure you need for a successful wellness book. We talked about you need the goals, otherwise you're adrift, and you need a focus or you'll have no readers. And today we're skipping ahead a little bit to design, because that's my favorite thing, and I just put this out of order a little bit, but it doesn't really matter. And if you don't have good design, then your book will be unprofessional. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. We also did talk about the two biggest mistakes that beginners make, which is trying to write for everyone and trying to write everything you know in your book. And I know that yesterday I asked you to send me your why, and thank you for everybody that did. I tried to answer everybody. If I missed anyone, I'm sorry. And some of you still had questions, and one person said, well, it should be for all adults. And I thought, okay, well, that's still everyone. Maybe it's not all children, but it's still a good part of the population. So we need to narrow it down a bit more. And that's what I'm going to help you with. So you don't have to worry about that now. If you're not sure yet, we'll be working on that. And we also discussed the Write a Wellness Book Sprint. And several people joined yesterday, which I'm absolutely delighted about. And we'll still be talking about that later, and there's still opportunity, and especially in the top 10 that get my back of the book writing service. So don't worry about that for now. So yesterday you opened up your hearts. And as I said, today's Valentine's Day, so you're going to see a lot of hearts today. It's funny because I was looking for all these heart backgrounds and heart images. And I spoke to my husband, I showed it to him, and I said, well, are people going to enjoy this, or are they going to think I'm crazy? And he said, well, probably both. But anyway, I hope you enjoy the craziness of today. So you're going to see a lot of hearts. That's just my fun. So yesterday you opened up your hearts, and you talked about your fears, your confusion, your doubts about writing a book. And today I want to reframe this. Let's reframe it. So when you're in the fear mode, you're thinking of the fear of, what if my book isn't good? What if I can't sell it? What if nobody reads it? What if I'm not a good writer? That's talking about a fear mode. So let's reframe this in a different way. So what if you thought about writing your book as an act of service rather than an act of writing? I mean, that could be mind-blowing. That's completely turning it around. So let's say, if you think about who you could be in service to, and you probably have already thought about this when it comes to whatever healing or health practice you have, what if you could be in service with your book as well in healing people, or you could be in service to hope or to support or to motivating people, or you could be in service to transforming people or teaching people or transpiring people to live healthier lives, or to get rid of pain or whatever discomfort or misery they have. So that could be a whole other way to look at your book. And then you're not thinking, oh, it's about me and maybe my writing isn't good enough. You're thinking it's about the reader, and what message am I delivering, and how am I delivering this? And if I can deliver hope or motivation or support, maybe that's good enough. Maybe that's what I need to do, and not really worry about my writing. Because I really have to be honest with you, you can learn to write better, and if you can't learn it, you can get an editor. That's a skill, and you may or may not want to spend time learning it. If you do want to learn it, it's probably easier than you think, and I bet a lot of people are better writers than you think. In fact, I bet a lot of you write wonderful emails and wonderful maybe blog posts or other things. So learning the skill to write is actually not as hard as you think. I'm going to show you why you think it's hard, but that's going to come tomorrow. And if you do think it's hard, and maybe you just hate to write, or maybe you just really don't have time, you just have an incredibly busy practice and family and whatever, you can get an editor to help you with that. So there's always solutions. So today we're continuing to dig into our 5-step process. Yesterday we talked about the focus for your book, and today we're talking about design. Tomorrow we're going to talk about how to structure your book. Thursday we're going to talk about the actual writing, and that could also involve recording, so you don't actually have to write. I'm going to show you how to do that and why you might choose that option. And Friday we're going to talk about the opportunities, and this is where it all comes together, and you're going to find out really what you can do with your book. And it's way, way, way beyond just selling on Amazon. I mean, you might sell on Amazon, you might sell a lot, you might not sell that much, but it doesn't even matter, because there are so many other opportunities to build your business and to help people worldwide and leave your legacy that Amazon is just one component, but it's not the only component. Many people think that that's the only component, and it's really not. So I'm going to dive much more deeply into that on Friday. So today's session, we're going to talk about how to design your book to sell. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Notice another heart coming up. But today we're going to cover how to find the perfect title and subtitle. How to cover common design, the common design myths and beginner's mistakes that many people make, and 7 elements that every book cover needs to succeed. And if you stay with me to the end, I have a surprise question and a surprise gift for whoever's here at the end. So this is not me, it's just a picture, but the background looks remarkably like where I live. So that's what it looks like outside my window. So it's the hearts and the trees and the snow, but a different attractive young woman in the front. So what I want to do now is take a moment and open up the Q&A, and I want to find out, what do you most want to learn today, with a focus on book cover design and titles and subtitles and anything to do with design of your book. And that does include the title and subtitle. That's part of the design. So Tracy, can we open up the polls and just see, what do you most want to learn today? Type it into the Q&A box, and then we'll read out a few answers.
Thank you, Linda. So we'll just give everyone just a few seconds here to type their questions into the Q&A box. We have one question, Linda, the role of designer.
Okay, the role of designer is very important, because unless you are yourself a designer, you need to work with one. I actually have a graphic design background, but I don't have the tools and the knowledge of how to use the graphic design programs. And so I work very closely with the designers when I need one. And I give very good guidance. And I'm going to talk about how to guide the designer, because a lot of people think, well, you just tell the designer your title and then he or she will figure it out. But no, you really need to provide very good guidance as to what you like and don't like. You need to find examples. I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes, but all I'm saying right now is that you need a professional designer unless you are one yourself, and I'll talk about how to work with one.
Thank you, Linda. We have a few more here that I'd like just to
Sure.
mention. One of the ones is, do you recommend putting or not putting the author's photo on the front cover?
I love that question. That's a wonderful question. If you're famous in your area, if you have a large following and people know your face and know you, that would be the only reason I would ever put the author's picture on the cover. And even many famous authors don't do that. But if you're a known entity, I mean, if Oprah is writing a book, yes, I mean, Oprah should have her picture on the cover. For the majority of people, I would say no. You can put your picture on the back cover if you want. I recommend putting it on the inside back page where you have about the author. And that's where you should take real estate, and you should have a picture of yourself. But don't forget that the book is not about you. It's about your reader and what you're giving to your reader, of being of service to your reader. So I say only do that if you're so well known that people say, oh, there's another book by so-and-so. And that's when you should put your picture on there.
Thank you, Linda. Our next question would be, what is the process of determining the title and the subtitle?
Well, I'm going to be talking about that in about 5 minutes. As soon as we finish this, that's what we're going to talk about. Well, maybe 5 minutes more.
Excellent. Can I ask one more?
Yeah.
Great. And where do I get design ideas or formats from?
I'm going to be talking about that again, just coming up in the next few minutes. So if you still have that question at the end, please re-ask it, but I think I will answer your question very soon.
Excellent, Linda. Well, thank you.
Okay, my pleasure. So now we're going to get onto that in a second. But first, I just want to briefly mention a few benefits I didn't have a chance to mention yesterday about writing a book. And one of them is the free publicity that you could never afford. If you were to go and buy publicity, ads in a major magazine or newspaper or TV or whatever, I mean, it costs thousands and thousands of dollars. If you were going to hire a publicist, that could be very expensive, and they would, get you into these major media or even minor media, but that could be very costly as well. But your book in itself is the best publicity you could ever get, because people can discover you on Amazon, as they did. Even though I didn't always sell tons of quantities of a book right on Amazon, as I said, I got a few sales of thousands of copies of my book from someone who found me there. So, I mean, it's just sitting there on Amazon and someone found it. But more important, or just as important, I often got on TV, I often got on the radio. I was on national TV in Canada for one of my books. And then people found me, they asked me to speak at conferences, and I got paid for that. So your book is the best media you could have. And people love, people on radio and TV love to interview new authors. You could call the local media stations, newspaper and radio in your area, podcasts, and say, hey, I have a new book out. They love to interview new authors and showcase your book. So it's wonderful for getting media. The next thing is, as health providers, I'm guessing, if I know many of you, that you're not exactly fond of selling your services. You want to help people, and that's why you went into this profession. But maybe selling your services not your the primary thing you really want to do. So I want to just take a little poll and find out, how do you feel about selling your services? And so you might hate it, or maybe you're okay with it, or maybe you love it. So let's just take a little poll and see, how do you feel about selling your services?
And the polls, the poll's in progress right now, Linda.
Okay, perfect.
A few more seconds for people to get their answers in. Excellent. So now I'm going to end the polling and share results.
Okay.
We have 75% that say they hate it. We also have 81% that has also answered okay with it. And then 25% say they love it. Okay.
All right. Well, as I thought, the overwhelming majority of people hate it or maybe are okay with it. And if you love it, I mean, that's amazing, because you'll be great at selling your services. You'll be great at selling your book. I mean, you're just ahead of the game. But for those that hate it or maybe are just okay with it, your book is the most credible low-key sales agent for you, because it sells for you. You can just say, hey, I wrote a book on this subject. Would you like to find out more? And you heard Dr. Michael saying that somebody bought 2 copies of his book or a few copies of his book recently on a trip when he was traveling. So those people could become his clients. There might, he's doing coaching and mentoring, and they very likely will be, or some people will, not everyone, but some will be, or they might pass it to somebody they know. So your book is a wonderful low-key sales agent. You don't have to sell anymore. Like it really is wonderful. And it's also your best educational tool. It helps you educate your patients, your potential patients, before they come to you. So the ones that you really want to come to you are going to seek you out without you having to seek them out. Now, there was a poll taken And one of the things that practitioners are looking for is a more efficient patient education system. And that will give you back hours of time and create bigger impact and compliance with whatever you're helping patients with. So imagine if you had this wonderful education tool and you could, if you have clients, new clients, you could ask them to buy your book or send them a copy of your book, whatever it is you want, or tell them it's on Amazon. You could sell it in your waiting room or give it away. I mean, there's many, many things you can do. You could give it away on your website. But it educates your patients ahead of time, and it saves you maybe repeating the same thing all the time or having to start from the beginning with educating each new patient. A book also helps you streamline your practice, and this comes from Dr. Russell Faust, who may again be on the line or not. And he found that a book helps you. He's an author and has had great success with his first book. So the book helps educate patients, and they'll have fewer questions. They'll call you less frequently, require fewer resource time, have shorter chair time in clinic. They're happier because they understand more about what you're talking about. They're healthier, which is really what you want to be the outcome for your patients. And they report a better patient experience. So imagine if you could get all that just from your book. I mean, that's a huge amount of benefits. So by now you're probably thinking, well, what does this have to do with book design? And it's simply this. It all starts with your title, your subtitle, and your cover design, because that's the first landing point where people find out about your book. So I want to talk about 7 crucial elements of the cover. And every one of these is important in either the front or the back cover. And without them, there's 1 or 2 others you could add, but they're all crucial to have at least these 7. The first one is the title and subtitle. And we're going to come back to that in a moment on how to craft a good title and subtitle. Having some testimonials is very, very valuable. And when I work with you, we talk about how to get some beta readers and get some testimonials ahead of time. Having a back cover headline, this is something most people don't know about. Most people just kind of put whatever they think on the back cover. And it's a headline is like a headline for a newspaper. Imagine picking up the newspaper and there's no headline. Well, you don't know what they're talking about till you start reading, and then there's a lot of small type and maybe you don't read. So you need a headline, and most people don't know how to do that, but I teach you how to craft one. You need back cover benefit copy, the benefits of your book. And we talked yesterday about how writing the back cover is the most crucial thing that you do first before you write your book. Because if you can write the back cover and explain what your book is about and how it benefits your readers, that's the kind of framework that you put around your whole book. So that's like crucially important. Author bio, this should be very brief, but you should have 1 or 2 lines on the back cover about who you are and why you should be writing this book, how you can help people. Cover image and design are very crucial as well, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. And the spine is just, it's a graphic element, because if your book is in a bookstore, chances are they'll see the spine before they see anything else. So you need a professional that knows how to put the spine title and subtitle on the spine. So let's talk about the transformational message and your transformational promise, because this is very important for the book title and your book cover. And the book title, now we're going to talk about it. You need to have a promise or a benefit. That's what sells the book. And the more specific it is, the better. So let's look at some example titles. These are some books I've been looking at on Amazon. And you need a promise or a benefit. It could be in the subtitle or the title or both places. So here's a title by Dr. Mark Hyman, which many of you, I'm sure, know. Eat Fat, Get Thin. Now, if that's not a compelling title, I don't know what is. Who wouldn't want to eat fat and get thin? I sure would. So, that would make someone say, oh, well, what's that about? I want to find out more. That sounds amazing. Another one is lose up to 15 pounds, 4 inches, and your wrinkles. Now, you've probably seen a lot of titles, lose X pounds and, in so many days. but she has a new wrinkle, ha ha ha, in this called Lose Your Wrinkles. So, okay, if I can lose weight and also my wrinkles, well, that sounds pretty good as well. So those are very compelling benefits. That's just benefits, benefit, 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 nothing else. So the title and subtitle, they have to work together. They have to work in harmony. And usually the subtitle amplifies the title. And let's see how we do this. So the title is the what. It's the what are you promising? So I'm promising a diet, a bone broth diet, a depression breakthrough, an allergy, an asthma cure. That's what I'm promising. But the subtitle is the how. So I'm going to lose 15 pounds. I'm going to master my mood with diet and nutrition. I'm going to feel well again by reducing my need for medication. So those are all the promises or the benefits. And let's look at another title. Let's keep going with some examples. So the title could be short and punchy. You can have something that's a little bit obscure. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not good. I say generally it's not. They could be intriguing, but sometimes it doesn't tell you what the book is about, and the subtitle has to work really hard to do it. Now, if you look at this one, Living Forward, I mean, people know Michael Hyatt, so that's probably good. And Living Forward, it's a little bit obscure. What does that mean exactly? But a proven plan to stop drifting and get what you want in life. Well, that's a pretty compelling benefit. Do over, not so sure what that means. So you'd really have to read the subtitle to see, well, what is this about? The other two, a little bit more obscure. So I think you really have to read this bottom part of the fourth one, the 6 essential qualities determining your success in business. It's a little bit harder to figure it out, but it does have a pretty catchy image. So sometimes if your name is well known, that will get people, oh, a new book by Michael Hyatt. Sometimes the image will catch people. I think the third one is pretty compelling as an image. It's kind of interesting and makes you want to look at that. And it's a number of things that work together, and that's why you need a good graphic designer, because it's not so simple as just putting the title and the subtitle and your name on there. All the elements have to work together, the title, the subtitle, and the image. So titles can also provoke curiosity. They can provoke controversy. They can be a twist on something popular. This one, Eat Dirt, well, I mean, that's pretty in your face. Like, why would anyone eat dirt when we've always been told to be, clean and wash? But now there's all the information about leaky gut coming out. So, there's a lot of new information that people need to know about what this is and what is the cause, and, should you eat dirt, what you should be eating actually, probiotics, what do you need to eat? This one I had actually a long time ago, but I just realized, hey, it has a heart, so it's perfect for Valentine's Day, so I'm glad I included it. But this is The Courage to Go Beyond Paleo into the Heart of What Ails You. And then Kelly Brogan, who many of you might know, A Mind of Your Own. So that was a twist on, I think it's Virginia Woolf's A Room of Your Own, or A Room of Her Own. And it's very good to take some kind of popular title, could be a movie, could be a book, could be anything, and twist it, you do some twist on it, as long as it works for you, as long as it's good for your book and you can use it in a way that gets your message across really powerfully. So on Amazon, it's good to be really straightforward and have keywords. And these titles are not very imaginative in the sense of like the allergy solution, the depression solution, the autoimmune solution. It's pretty straightforward, like nothing very intriguing. And yet, if people type into Amazon or even Google and it goes to Amazon, allergy solution, depression solution, autoimmune solution, well, these books will come up. So it's pretty clever, actually, just to have a pretty straightforward title. You don't need to be super fancy. And then you let your subtitle do all the heavy lifting. So the allergy solution, pretty basic, but unlock the surprising hidden truth about why you're sick and how to get well. Well, that's kind of intriguing. I mean, what is my hidden, reason that I'm not well, I think that's pretty good. It'll get me interested, and I know it's the allergy solution. So, you know, how does my allergy impact, you know, why I'm sick and how I can get well? The third one, prevent and reverse the full spectrum of inflammation, symptoms, and disease. Well, I mean, yeah, if I have an autoimmune solution, I would sure like to know that. So that's pretty powerful. It's pretty compelling. So again, you know, you can be straightforward. You don't have to be fancy. You don't have to be clever. You just have to give people what they're looking for. That's really what you need to do with your book title. Benefits and promises are super important, and being descriptive. I think this first one is an excellent book title because it has 2 keywords that combine. So it's about the gut and gut bliss. So usually people that are looking for this probably have gut misery. And then there's so many benefits: feel light, tight, and bright, the healthy way, the 10-day plan to banish bloat, flush toxins, dump your digestive baggage. Like, wow, like, I mean, it's just loaded with benefits. I love her titles. I love what she does. The bloat cure, I mean, anybody with, and that's the same author, anybody with bloating, I mean, what more do you want than the bloat cure? 101 natural solutions for relief and for lasting relief. So it's not incredibly clever. The titles are in this case, but it's straightforward too. I mean, really just think about, what are you offering the reader? What solution are you offering them? The next one is a little stronger, a little bit different, the life you've always wanted. And this is spiritual discipline. So I think that this one has an intriguing kind of title, but it needs maybe a little bit more of an explanation, but people probably know him and the image is very compelling. So it's probably a very good seller. So let's talk about book covers. So, you know, people, I mean, there's the old saying, you know, you can't judge a book by a cover. And, you know, I think that's just ridiculous. Do books sell covers? Well, duh. Do covers sell books? Sorry. Imagine seeing a bunch of books like this with no images and no titles. I mean, you wouldn't pick it up, or unless you were so curious, you thought, well, what the heck is in there? Yes, you absolutely need a compelling cover, because whether you're on Amazon or you're in the bookstore or you're in person and handing out your book, people look at the cover, they look at the image, they look at the title, and they look at the back cover. So the whole point of your cover is to help your audience realize they should be reading your book. It has to speak to your audience in a way, both visually and verbally, and compel them to say, oh, that's interesting, that's for me, I want to find out, you know, more about this, I want to see if this book can help me. And that's the sole purpose of working with a designer and crafting a good title. So your book cover is a chance to win readers. That's where readers first find you and look at what you have to offer. It's an opportunity to stand out, because if your book cover looks like all the other book covers, then people, you know, it won't stand out on the shelf. It needs to have something compelling. And it's a way to compete with the big guys. So as a wellness author, you know that there are a lot of wellness books out there on the shelves and in Amazon. And if your book cover is not as compelling as some of the others and doesn't make people want to look at it, you need to compete with the big guys to look professional. And you can, you really can. I mean, there's many resources, but you just need to keep in mind that you have to stand beside the big selling authors, and your book cover has to be as good. And fortunately, there are many excellent graphic designers that used to work for big companies and still do, and freelance now, and have services available to help you. So your book, it should make your ideal reader say, I want to read that. When your ideal reader finds your book on a bookshelf or on Amazon, he or she should want to read it just because something in the title or the image compels them. So I want to talk about a few mistakes that beginners make in book cover design. And the first one is hiring a $5 book designer. Notice I have some more hearts in here. That was done a long time ago. But or doing it yourself, unless you are a graphic designer. Now, you probably heard about Fiverr, and I'm not against Fiverr. It's a place where you can get services for $5, although now it's not that many services for $5 anymore. It's kind of like my local dollar store where there's not much left for $1. Most are $2 or $3 or $4, but that's a different story. So it started off where people would offer all kinds of services for $5. Usually, though, it would be a very basic service, and then if you want anything a little bit enhanced, it's a little bit more. And you can find some good designers there. I have on occasion, but you have to look. You may have to try a bunch of designers to find a good one and then try to work with them. The problem is that often on Fiverr, there are people around the world who don't speak English perfectly, and so it's a communication gap when you try to explain what you want, and you can't speak with them on the phone. It's all by email. And so, I mean, that does present a barrier, but I'm not saying don't go for that, but I do have better resources for you and reasonable prices as well. The next thing that people think is that the cover designer is a mind reader, and you know, you just tell them your title and say, oh, my book is about indigestion or bloating or whatever, and they'll come up with a compelling design. Sometimes they can, but often you need to give them more guidance. So I'm going to be talking about that, but it's really important to have a conversation with your book designer and talk about what your vision is for the book and to give them as many examples as you can. And an easy way to do that is just to go to Amazon and find examples of books that you find attractive and compelling and say, you know, here's some books that I really like. I like this kind of mood. I like this kind of coloring. Let's see what we could do with that. So just to summarize this a little bit, almost anyone can write and publish, but the truth is that as a health professional, you have to publish professionally. There's a lot of good stuff on Amazon, and there's a lot of crap on Amazon, like really bad crap that's not published professionally, where people do their own covers and do their own editing, and I don't want that for you, because you will not have the credibility that you're hoping for, and you won't build the authority that way. And in order to do that, we talked a little bit about having a publishing team. And the publishing team is an editor or one or more editors, a book designer, and the printer. And it's not as hard as you think. I'll help anyone I'm working with, but you can find these people easily. But you do have, if you're doing this on your own, you do have to do a little bit of sleuthing. You have to check them out, and you have to know what to ask, and you have to ask for examples of books they've done. You should know that book cover designers are not always the same as every kind of graphic designer. A good one should be able to do book covers, but not all of them can. There's some that are not that proficient in book cover and may specialize in other kinds of designs. So you should really ask them, do you do book covers? Because that's a specialty unto itself, especially creating the spine and the back cover. They really have to know what they're doing. So how does this fit into our scope? Well, as you can see, we're now in the design phase today, and without a successful design, your book will look unprofessional. So how do you pick a winning title and a subtitle? Well, the best way is to go to Amazon and check out the best-selling covers and titles in your category. And I suggest going to the Kindle store, not the main print book section or paperback section. And the reason for that is that you'll get many more books on there, and they always have the top 100 sellers in every category. So if you go to health, diet, and fitness, or nutrition, or any of those areas, cookbooks, you can drill down and look for the top 10, the top 20 books, and look at their covers, because if the covers are selling, if they're doing well, chances are they got something right. And so just try to get a feeling for the mood, for the colors, for you know, what kind of images do they use, and see which ones appeal to you, and then bring them to your designer, your graphic designer, and discuss it with him or her to discuss what you like and what you think will be good for your book. Now, you can go to the Amazon ranking, and if you're not sure how this works, when you go to Amazon, there's the product details, and it shows you how many pages are in the book. Excuse me. And you'll see the author best-selling rank, and this is where you want to look. So you'll see 60,230 copies of this book, and this book is number 91 in diet and weight loss paleo. You can see the stream, so it starts in books, health, fitness, and dieting, and then paleo, healing, weight loss. You can be in different categories. Anything under 100,000, that means that the book is selling really well. If you see some enormous number, a few 100,000, the book is not selling so well. So this is how you can tell. And the ranks are changing all the time. So you need to be looking quite often. So another way you can do this is you can see what's selling well. Hay House is one place that publishes spiritual books. And you can also look at some of the other companies that have health and wellness books. I think Hay House is the most well-known and the biggest probably. It's more on the health and spiritual side, but just get some idea of the covers, get some idea of the titles. If your book is not spiritual, that doesn't matter, but it still gives you some very good ideas of what to look for and who's publishing what. So let's review what we talked about today. So we talked about how to find the perfect title and subtitle. And don't worry if you don't have it yet. I don't expect that you have it by the end of this session, but it's just to get you started thinking about it. It takes a little thought, and you should actually have a working title. So your working title might be, curing, helping people with arthritis, or helping people with depression, and that's fine. That's a working title. And you might have put in some benefits, and then maybe later on, as you write your book, you'll come up with a better title. So, in our group, we actually did a lot of brainstorming, the whole group together, and came up with some fabulous titles for all of the books. And as you see, Dr. Michael Christensen, that was not his first cover. He had some cover called The Undiet Process. And, well, nobody knew what that meant, and it didn't sound very exciting. So when we read his book, or we knew more about his book, we realized that it was really about reducing calories for 2 days a week, because it gives the body a chance to rest and recover. And he considered that a 2-day gift of wellness. And people in his group were saying that. So we said, well, what about that as a title? And wow, like that just popped out, and that seemed to be the title that he went with. So you can really have to wait until your book is partly done to come up with a final title. This is just the starting point. We also talked about book cover myths and beginner's mistakes, which are not, working well with your designer and not having good imagery, etc., and the 7 elements every book cover needs. So now I think we've ended this portion for a moment, and I'd like to take a minute and just get your aha moment for today of what you discovered about book titles, book covers, or anything else. What resonated with you today? And you can talk about My Hearts if you want. So Tracy, can we open up the Q&A for a moment?
Absolutely. Thank you, Linda. Just type your answers or responses to Linda in the question and answer box, and I can read them out on your behalf. And we'll just give everyone just a few moments to type in their aha moment. I know for me, Linda was really thinking about the side and the back cover and how important they are. Mm-hmm. It's something I never even thought I really thought about before.
Exactly.
And we have some coming in right now. One is the role of the book as an educational prep prior to the visit.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And again, another one is the importance of the spine of the book.
Yeah, I mean, the spine of the book is really important if you're in a bookstore. In Amazon, if you're only doing an ebook, not so important, but in a bookstore for sure, because most books are spine out. You should know that, and I didn't know this for a long time when I was writing books, those end tables when the books are all set out and you see the covers and you see the books displayed right at the beginning. Well, a lot of people think, oh, that's because your book is so wonderful and because it's a bestseller and people love that book. No, it's not that at all. It's because the publishers pay for that space. That's all it is. So if your publisher is willing to pay for your book, that means it's selling well. That means you have to kickstart the sales, and then your book will be on a table or an end display, and more people will buy it. It's, again, you have to do the marketing. And so otherwise, if that doesn't happen, your book is spine out. So the spine is pretty important. Went back to the book as an educational tool. I mean, I think that this could be the most valuable thing you do. If you have a practice and you want to get patients to understand your method or to want to come to you as opposed to some other practitioner who offers something similar, your book can be so valuable. I mean, you can sell it, you can give it away, you can give away the e-copy but sell the paper copy. There's a number of things you can do. And one thing it can do is it can bring you clients from around the world. I show you how at the back of the book, how you can have a contact page for people to contact you. And I interviewed someone named Dr. Bradley Nelson, whose book, The Healing Code, brought him thousands of clients, and now he has programs, so he's not treating all these clients alone. But at the point when his book came out, patients started calling him from around the world, and he couldn't see them all, so he started doing Skype consultations, and that built his whole business. And then he started hiring other practitioners and trained them. So it changed the whole face of his business just using his book as an educational tool.
Excellent. Thank you, Linda. We still have a lot more coming in. Let me just read off a few of them. This is really great. Looking at the book as a service instead of a chore.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that changes. It's all reframing in your mind. And if you think of your book as a service instead of something onerous or difficult, it will just make your book a joy to do rather than a difficulty.
Right. And next is, I love the practical tip about going to Amazon and looking at the bestsellers and picking a few that you like to show your designer. This another one is the title and subtitle and how they work together and the different roles they do have.
Right.
And also not deciding on final title until the book is partly or mostly finished.
Yeah, that's really important because many times that's happened to me, that I changed the title partway through. In fact, one of the people in my course last time, who's actually Michael's sister, he mentioned her. She had a title in mind, and it was a really good title. And then she wrote her whole book, and she sent me the manuscript to read. And I said, "Oh my God, Deb, you wrote the wrong book. You didn't write the book that you wrote a title for." She had written in a completely different way. And fortunately, all we had to do was change the title. I mean, she had to get a new book cover designed. But I mean, she had spent like a lot of time and energy and poured her heart into this book, and it was really good. But it wasn't the book that was her title that she started with in the beginning. She'd written something else. So again, I mean, you may have to pivot. You may think that you're writing about one thing, and then as you start writing, you say, well, really, I'm talking about something else, and that's fine. That's part of the exploration and the transformation of you as an author. And it's a normal thing, actually.
Excellent, thank you. And Linda, just one more quick question. Someone asked for an explanation on what a beta group is.
Oh, okay. A beta group is just a test group. So if you're in my program or not, you could do this on your own. It's just a few readers. I did this on my own many times for a book. I found a few people. Now, I would say don't necessarily go to family members or your closest friends because they may not understand what you're talking about. I would go to some sample people that would benefit from your book. So that could be your patients or your clients or even your colleagues, although they probably will not see it the same way as your readers will. So you want to find just a few, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 of your ideal readers and ask them to read your book and tell you, what did you find most beneficial? What was confusing? Is there anything important that I left out? Things like that. And it's very important to guide them with questions. Like you don't just give them the book and say, what do you think? Because then, if you give it to your Aunt Sally and she says, oh, there's a typo on page 92. Well, okay, I didn't finish writing the book yet. It's not proofread. That's not what I'm asking for. I'm asking for content, and I want your thoughts on how the book would help you or if anything crucial is missing. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later, so don't worry about it for now, but it's really just having a few test readers.
Great, Linda, thank you.
You're welcome. So let's just carry on a little bit more. We're getting closer to the end. So tomorrow we're going to talk about the structure, and I'm going to talk about the easiest and proven structures for writing a wellness book. In fact, one in particular. And once you know this, like, it's really as easy as filling in the blanks with your writing. And I mean, no kidding. Like, when I say that, if you have the structure, you can write the book. The reason that most of you feel lost is because you don't know how to put the structure together. And once you see what I tell you tomorrow, you're going to be really surprised at how much easier this is. Like, you're going to thank me just for this one tip. So please try to be on tomorrow, but if you can't, you'll get the recording, because you're going to be so happy when you hear this. I can guarantee, when I figured this out myself, it was like a big light bulb that went off in my own head as to how to make book writing much, much easier. So I want to give you a little homework for anybody who is interested, for the serious forthcoming authors in this group, and now you're all forthcoming authors. So what could you be in service to? And it could be any of these things: hope or healing or transformation or anything else. And who could you be in service to? So think carefully about, you know, who your audience is. You don't have to decide that now, but just start thinking about it. It could be new moms, people with arthritis, athletes, teenagers. If you're doing something on nutrition, I mean, it could be a very different book if you're dealing with new moms or athletes. I mean, they have totally different nutrition needs, or teenagers, or babies, or anyone else. So I'll put this slide up again at the end so you can see what it is, or you'll get the playback. And again, send me the what and who, what you could be in service to and who, if you like. I won't share this tomorrow. I'm just curious, and I'll answer you as much as I can. Send it to, excuse me, Linda at Wellness Inc. A deadline, again, 6 p.m. Eastern, about an hour and a half from now, 2 hours. And now, I know that some people heard this yesterday, but there's quite a few new people on the line, so I just want to go over this fairly quickly. I hope you enjoyed today's session, and there's really only so much we could do together in 5 days. So I know that you're probably overloaded with information and your head is buzzing and spinning. And we talked briefly yesterday about, you know, there's two paths. You can take the path of getting someone else to write your book, and in case you didn't know, hiring a ghostwriter to write your book could start at $25,000 or more, up to $75,000. And you may not get the book you want. But if you learn to write your own book, you have the power to write more books, and you learn a process that you can repeat as many times as you want it. It becomes much, much easier. So that's what you're going to learn if you keep on and stay with me. And the fact that no one can write your book exactly the way you can. So my offer of help is to work closely, a heart sighting, just in case you didn't notice, work closely and intensively with a small group of wellness professionals to help you write your book in as few as 90 days. Now, one or two people asked me, they were a little worried about that 90 days, and I said, well, I might be feeling stressed if I can't get my book done in 90 days. And I just want to say that please don't. There's no reason you have to do it in 90 days. That's just a suggestion for the quick, speedy people in the group. But the course will not be over in 90 days. It'll take 2 more months after that, as you'll see. And you don't have to be finished in 90 days. You can take all the time you want, and you'll have all the modules of the course to listen to over and over again. So you don't need to be finished in 90 days, but some people want to be. So that's for those quick starters, that sprinters that want to. So starting on March 1st, I'll be offering this sprint for anyone who wants to sprint to the course, to the book. And as I said, you could take longer. And what we'll be covering is defining your goals, defining your audience and your message, the structure and creating your book, and the design and the publishing. And I know I'm going fast because I want to get a bit to the next slide. Some people ask me, what is the exact syllabus? So it's a bit hard to read this all to you, but as you can see, it starts on March 1st. We're defining the business goals. We're creating a launch date, clarifying the message and the reader profile. Then we'll be setting you up in Finish Agent, which is the place where we'll be meeting. And you'll have an accountability buddy, which means an accountable person, a buddy that you'll be accountable to. You'll start posting and supporting each other, and I'll be supporting you as well. Then we'll be writing your working title and subtitle and your back cover copy. This is going to happen in March. At the end of March, we'll start structuring and outlining your book with a template that I provide, and we'll start the cover design process once you have your working title. April will be getting the book written, and you have two choices. You can either write the book yourself, and we'll talk about how you need a certain number of words per day if you want to do that. And you can record your content and have it transcribed and then edit it. And this is a really fast way to do things. And we're going to have 2 recording weekends, so you can choose which one you want. I know one of them is Easter weekend, which for some people will not work, but some people may actually have some more time off and want to do it then, or the following weekend. I'm going to show you how to do everything, so you don't have to worry how do you do it. I'm going to show you. You're going to start editing your book 1 or 2 weeks later, as soon as you have the recording or the finished first draft, and using the system that I'm going to show you how to use. Then we'll do copy editing for language, and I see a typo here, punctuation, yes. We'll be writing the front and back matter. I'll explain what that is. We'll be starting to get your book formatted using the resources I'll recommend. We'll do final formatting towards the end of May and be ready to publish. Now again, if it takes you longer, that's fine. You don't have to worry. You don't have to do it that fast. But if you want to be speedy, this is what the process looks like. And in June, for whoever's ready, we'll, oh, another typo. Well, I've been working at the last minute creating some new slides, and there's always some typos there, see? We will work together and launch our books together on Amazon for whoever's ready. And if you're not ready, then you'll just launch your book when you are ready, so not to worry. The course will be in multi-format, so we'll have live meetings on Zoom, just as we're having now, except it'll be more interactive. And you'll also have the scripts to read if you want to read. You'll have the audio files. So we make it as easy as possible. You'll get all the templates and worksheets and scripts and checklists and resources and examples of how to do everything. You'll be in this accountability group where you'll have a private, I'll be there coaching you, and you'll also have your buddy with you. And so you'll be encouraging and helping each other. And you get the coaching from me personally, not another coach. So I'll be there and I'll be helping you, including all the resources that you need, including my Rolodex for good designers at a variety of prices that will meet your budget. The opportunity to be published by Wellness Inc. This takes away the headache of self-publishing, and it's not something that costs a lot, but I'll go into this later. You don't have to worry about it now, just to know that that is something that I can help you with. So the other thing that I mentioned yesterday is the absolute proof that you could write your book in 3 months. And the reason is that I'm going to be writing my own book, and I haven't started it yet, and I'm going to be writing it along with you. So I'm swimming in the same fish pond as you, and we're going to do it together. And you'll never be wondering what to do next. Like, that won't happen. If you have a question, I'll be there to help you, and you won't be, holding your head and worrying about it. So as we talked about, the investment is 4 payments of $497, or you can pay the whole thing at once if you prefer. And this is the link if you want to join. Now, what will happen is if you join today or whenever you want to join, we are going to have a phone call after this, after I see that you joined. And if we find, for either of us, if you find this isn't for you, you don't want to work with me, or you're not ready, or whatever reason at all, I'll just refund this. And I think by now, I hope you trust enough that I will do that. And if the group is not for you, then maybe it's not right now, or it never will be, or whatever. I honestly don't want you in the group, because I want people that will be successful. I don't want people that are in there and that will, even if you pay me and don't turn up, like, that's not what I want. I don't want that. I don't want to take your money unless you'll be successful. So I'm very, very much vested in your success. Now, this may be a lot of money for some people, and I just want to show you quickly how it can actually save you money, because if you have a professional editor. An average price for a good professional editor is $125,000, sorry, per 1,000 words. And 25,000 words is an average book. That would come to over $3,000. So my editing process can save you a good substantial part of that. You may need some final editing, but it could be just a few hundred or less, way down from the 3,000 that you might pay if you do all the editing. Now, you might prefer to do that, but that's your choice. I'll also save you costly mistakes, and I made a lot where I wasted a lot of money on publishing, on printing, on doing things the wrong way, on hiring the wrong cover designer that didn't know how to do a cover. So these are many ways where you actually save money from getting the help and guidance you need. So as I said, if you're interested, you can apply now to hold your place, and then we'll talk. And it's not final until we've talked. And so once you've applied, you're going to get a schedule. You'll get an email thanking you, welcoming you, and setting up a schedule. And I know the people that have joined have already booked their appointments with me, and I can't wait to speak to them. So you'll be in good company. Here, you can read this. I'm not going to read this to you. Here's Dr. Michael that you saw on the line today. And this is, that's his sister Deb. And some other people that send me some really wonderful thank yous for helping them write their book. Some are finished, some are not finished. But I had some very loyal people. If you can imagine that Michael got up, stayed up all night and called from Japan at 5 in the morning without sleeping. You can guess that he wouldn't do that if he didn't appreciate what I've done for him and how I've helped him. And I'm continuing to work with him actually in marketing his business. So as I mentioned yesterday, I have a special bonus for the first 10 people who join. And I will write your back cover copy. And we talked about how important that is. And that's really an art. I mean, I will show you how to do it, but for the first 10 people, you'll get expert level copywriting on your back cover. And I still have some places left in the top 10. I know a lot of people don't like to act right away. You want to wait until the end, which is perfectly normal. But for the fast acting people, you get rewarded. So if you want to join, then you get that. And here is the link. It's wellnessinc.com/join. Very simple. You know, sometimes the riskiest thing to do is not to take a risk. So you may say, well, you know, it's risky. I might be wasting my money. I might be wasting my time. But, you know, most people don't regret what they did. They regret what they didn't do. And I can tell you that nobody ever regrets writing a book. Like you don't regret that, what you put in, whether you sell a lot of copies or you don't regret that you put that in because you've done something. You brought something out into the world that other people benefit from. And that's transformed you. And so you can't really regret this decision. You could do this on your own, and whether you work with me or not, I really encourage you to write your book on your own. If you're here, it's something you have a passion for and you want to do, and you should write it on your own, or get help, like whatever is most important to you. But you know, please write your book. That's the most important thing. So now I have a prize. And we have a fun quiz. So I have a prize. If you can guess how many hearts were in this presentation, the first person who gets it closest to the number, Tracy knows the number. I counted them up. So just give a guess. There were quite a few. The first person to get the number most accurately will get a special prize, and I'll tell you what the prize is in a minute. So Tracy, let's launch this little Q&A and see what numbers come up.
Excellent, Linda. I'm looking at the results now, and there is nothing close enough. Still looking. And I'm still looking. It's still not enough.
No.
I should say some of you are way too over, but I'm looking for the closest number. And Linda, I think I have the closest number right here. Let me just pull it up.
Okay.
Excellent. And so let me respond to her directly by text.
Okay.
And then if you want to let her know what she won.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, so I will let her know after what she won and communicate with her. So thank you very much, Tracy. And well, I'll just tell you the number in case anyone's curious. So it was 86. So some of you might have been over, under, I don't know, but yeah, there's quite a few in there. Okay, so let's go to our final Q&A. And now I'm opening up to any questions at all that I didn't answer from yesterday or today. I'll answer as many as we can for the next, I think we have about 20 minutes more. And anything left, I will try to answer tomorrow, or you can email me, or you know, I'll make sure you get your answer in the next day or so. So whenever you're ready.
Excellent. Linda, I am looking at the question box right now. And also just let you know that I did respond to the person that chose 90 as the closest. And so we will be contacting them shortly. If anyone has any questions for Linda, please just type them in the question box and I can repeat them for you. Linda, any advice about overpowering or under of image or design on the cover?
You mean if the image is too big and overpowering? You know, a good graphic designer will be able to help you with that. Where you have that problem is maybe if you try to do it yourself. A professional book designer should not have that problem. And also a good graphic designer will usually give you a few different ideas and then you can work with them. So, I mean, I think the cover image has to be eye-catching, but it's a fine line between eye-catching and overpowering. Of course, it's in the eye of the beholder. So one kind of book, you know, might do better with a different kind of image. So, I mean, it's a bit of subjective, but I mean, I guess the answer is just to work with a good designer to find a good image and a good design.
Thank you, Linda. And just on, since we're talking about that, someone is just asking, can you be sparse or stark with your design?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can have very minimalist design. That can be eye-catching as well. But in order to do that, actually, you have to really know what you're doing. Because sometimes, you know, I'm just relating this to copywriting. Writing something short is actually harder than writing something long because you have to choose every word carefully. And so editing a design with not a lot of images, you have to make sure that the images you have are really powerful and really get the message across. So yes, you can. It doesn't have to be over fussy or have a lot of elements for sure, but a good designer would do a good job with that.
Thank you, Linda. Our next question, what if you cannot begin the 3-month sprint until mid-March?
That's not a problem if it's mid-March. I mean, if it's at the end, and if you have a timeline, like if you definitely want to be finished by the end of May, if you join by mid-March, you can still catch up. Any later would be harder. However, if you're not on such a tight timeline, then you can join in March. Start in mid-March, maybe you're on holiday or something else is happening in your life. You can easily catch up. We're not actually doing all that much. We're basically setting up the beginning of March. So the real content doesn't begin till mid-March. And so you can catch up and I'll help you catch up. So don't worry about that if it's just the first 2 weeks of March.
Thank you, Linda. Our next question is about illustrations, and not technical illustrations, but for the visual flow.
Sure. So in your book, you can have illustrations if you want. You need to know that it will be more costly for the graphic designer to work with any kind of design elements. Now, if you want black and white illustrations, you may have to hire someone unless you're an illustrator. You may have to hire someone to do the illustrations. You could do it. All of this adds to the cost, but that's, many people want that, and there's no reason not to. I mean, Michael, Dr. Christensen, had quite a few beautiful graphic designs done. His book cost him a bit more, but he was fine with that. That's what he wanted. He was thrilled with his book. So again, you can have illustrations, you can have photographs, but if you print in color, that's very, very costly. In an ebook, you can put in color images, and doesn't cost anything. So again, it depends on which medium you're using, and what more work the designer will have to do, and the cost could go up, but I mean, it's perfectly doable. Do we have more questions, Tracy?
Oh, my apologies, Linda. I was talking to myself on mute.
Oh, oh dear. Okay.
We have a question about business card and short books. So if we want a short book that will be used as a business card, do you still have the same type of structure? For example, a number of chapters, etc., with a short book?
Yes, I mean, you do. I mean, you always need a structure. Otherwise, your book is just not going to flow well. You could have fewer chapters. You can have a shorter book. You can have, 60 to 80 pages, which is a lovely short book. So really, you're doing the process, but you're just writing fewer words and, fewer chapters as needed. So the basic process is all the same, but your book is shorter and less work, and you'll finish it faster.
Thank you, Linda. And on that note, what is a good number of words or pages do you think for this kind of business card book?
Yeah, for the business card book, roughly 8,000 to 9,000 words will be fine. And that will give you a book of about 60 to 80 pages. And I have a few books like that, and they work really well. So again, like if you want an authority book, a bigger book, you might want, 20 to 25,000 words. But for a book like this that you want mainly as a business card, 9,000 words and about 60 to 80 pages is just fine.
Thank you. Linda, we have a few questions about the sprint.
Yep.
First is, how many people or maximum would be in this group?
I'm sure probably 20 maximum, and it may be less, maybe fewer. So I don't want an overwhelming, and the reason is that I can have two groups on this Finnish agent of 10 people each. So that's probably the maximum. So you will not be in with 100 people. Like, you will have a group of 10 or fewer, and that will allow me to give you a lot of attention.
Wonderful, Linda. Thank you. Our next question also on the sprint is, what if someone's traveling a few times during this 3-month period?
Well, I have to tell you that Dr. Michael travels, because he's actually an airline pilot and also a psychologist. He travels more than anybody. And he has called in, when we had our group meetings, he called in from China, Japan, Singapore, Mexico, and he called in from all around the world. Every time we'd say, well, where are you, Dr. Michael? And he'd say, oh, it's the middle of the night. I'm in China, I'm in Singapore, I'm in Vietnam, So, I mean, it's very mobile. I mean, you can call in from wherever you are if you want to. And if you don't, I mean, there's always the recordings, which are up, within a few hours. You can go to the recordings. You can log in to Finnish Agent from anywhere. So, I mean, we live in a mobile world. If you're on holiday and you miss something, I mean, if you need to take a week or two off, and so you'll just catch up when you get back. So, I mean, travel is not a problem. We live in a world where you can access anything, anywhere, all the time now.
Thank you, Linda. I think you've answered our questions about if you're not able to attend the sessions, that you all will be able to watch them online after.
Yes.
Is there any more questions from our viewers right now? Please make sure to type them in the question box and I can ask Linda. Linda, I'll just give it a few more moments, but
Yep.
I don't see any more questions coming in. You certainly answered a tremendous amount today, so thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Everyone, just one more minute here to, if they have any more questions.
Yeah, let me just call up the homework again for a moment if anybody wants to do it. And I welcome your doing it. Let me just find that again. Yeah, so you could just focus on this for anyone who wants to while we're waiting. So it's what could you be in service to and who could you be in service to?
Thank you, Linda. We do have an extra question. How much can you expect to pay for a cover design?
I would say probably starting at 150, 200 for a decent design. You could find for less, and it could go upwards. A really good top-end designer will give you 3 or 4 different concepts. So, you know, if you're on a budget, you could probably get, sometimes you can get semi-made designs, which are like $100, where you find something that you kind of like and you semi-customize it. So if you're really on a budget, that's a way to go. You can find people on Upwork and some of the other freelance sites, and you can actually say, I'm looking for a cover designer, my budget is $100 or $80 or $200, whatever, and see who bids for your design and then look at some of their work. So there's always ways to do this on a budget, and I help you do that. And I provide a range of different you know, options. So I would say even starting at under 100, you know, you could do it under 100.
Excellent, Linda. Thank you. And I see that we have no more questions in our queue right now.
Okay, then. So again, if you want to email me with your what and who you can be of service at, I think you have my email by now. It's linda@wellnessinc.com by 6 p.m. Eastern, which is just a little over an hour and a half from now. And tomorrow, as I said, we're going to be talking about the structure of your book. And so it's really important that you be there if you're able to, or at least watch the replay, because I promise you it's going to revolutionize what you think about writing your book, and it's all going to click. It's going to seem so easy once I show you this. Again, you will receive the recordings as soon as I get them ready, which usually takes me about an hour or so. I'm just wondering, a very quick Q&A, did anybody, I know one person had a problem viewing it on my website, and I sent out the link for YouTube. Did anyone else have trouble viewing it on my website? I'm just kind of curious if, just type in yes if you had trouble with the website, so I'll know which links to send out.
Okay, we do have one person that said yes, they had trouble viewing it on the website.
Okay, and I'm hoping now you can put yes if you were able to view it one way or the other, including YouTube. So I can I'll send you both recordings, both links. So go to the website first, because it's a more easier kind of place to watch it. But if you can't, then you'll get the YouTube recording as well.
Excellent, Linda. Thank you. And yes, we have a few comments that they were able to see it one way or the other. So that's wonderful.
Okay, excellent. So I want to thank you. Here's my final heart for today. My heartfelt thanks for being with me and spending some time and having some fun. No hearts tomorrow, just like really good content. So I'll see you again tomorrow, and have a great evening, and think about your book tonight, because you'll be happy thinking about it. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.